number 7 picks, and I'll start today. My number 8 is a guy we were just talking about during the break, Dave, is running back Ken Walker. I think is hugely important to this team, obviously, to the offense to establish. If they can establish a great running game, that opens up the passing game, opens up all kinds of options for this offense, and I think he's huge for this team. Now, we were talking about hearing, I think it was Brock and Saul, because they had a promo where they're saying, hey, he's had such a great camp. I to this point, I don't recall hearing his name much. He hasn't played much, certainly in preseason, but I feel like I haven't heard much good or bad about him. Am I wrong about that?
No, I don't think so. I think it's probably, maybe Brock and Salk had an interview and, somebody who specifically, you got to give it to guys like Bob Condotta, and Brady Henderson. I mean, they're out there watching every single snap, and a lot of times they're writing down, the stats and, what this guy ran for, even though it's all unofficial. But, yeah, I mean, maybe. But Ken Walker has looked really good. Like his lower body, you can tell he put a lot of time into it, and the things I have seen have been good. But yeah, you're right, you're not going to see him during the preseason at all. So, and out in Nashville, saw a lot of good things like the one-on-one stuff, and this is the things where you can, when they have like a coverage little drill where you typically have linebackers on running backs, and then you have like a pass rush drill where it's the same, linebackers rushing and blocking, and he looked really good in the blocking part of it. But yeah, I would say up until that point, unless you were in Nashville, there wasn't a ton to go off of, but I think he's gotten better, I'm sure, but I don't think there was a whole lot to support that. But yeah, I think he's really important to this team. They got to get a running game going.
I like the room. We've liked it before, and then everybody gets hurt. So hopefully, fingers crossed, they can stay healthy with him and Charbonnet. And I really love the way McIntosh has looked. But yeah, that's my number 8 is Ken Walker. Who do you have at number 8? I
got Byron Murphy, the rookie there, because he is very instrumental to play off of Big Cat, Leonard Williams. I think if you have those two guys in there, and then another guy that we heard from Adden Dirty, the defensive coordinator, he was talking about Jaron Reed, and he said Jay Reed just overwhelms a one-on-one situation so far of what they've seen. And so I've kind of forgotten about him a little bit because I've been talking about those two so much. But yeah, for Byron Murphy, if you have Jaron Reed and he's having a really good year, what do you have, 7.5 sacks, I think, last year? And then, Big Cat has his, best season going, and it's like, who are you going to double team? With those 3 guys. So I think that's really important for him. And then going back to what McDonald said to Tyrese Knight about how you've got to go out there and fail. So then, and I said this last week that I thought it was really important that he missed that sack last week against the Chargers because, I think that's something he'll probably never do again. The other thing is it's something that probably in college you get a sack there, but in the NFL, just a reminder, it's tougher. You've got to, it's much harder, so you've got to execute. So, yeah, I thought that was important for him. But like McDonald said, you gotta fail, and that's the way that you're going to grow. So don't worry about the failures. But yeah, I think that's something he's gotten a lot of reps. I didn't see him a lot in the game, but he's looked really good. I think he's going to probably have some growing pains, but you know what? That's the one position, and I'm not joking about it, but defensive tackle, there's not a lot of assignment,
Left, right, forward.
Yeah. I mean, my buddies like Joe Nash would probably scoff at me for that, but yeah, I mean, I think it's the hardest probably physically. Yeah. I mean, you have to have really good feet, really good leverage, really good hands, and
great strength
and endurance. I mean, that's why they cycle those guys out where you don't want those interior guys playing more than like 60-65%, because it's one thing running down the field, but when you're pushing for 10 seconds or 8 seconds or whatever a play lasts on a 320-pound man, I mean,
who's pushing back? Yeah, that's a lot.
Wears you out.
We move up to number 7. My number 7 is a guy we both love. He's polarizing, but an incredible talent, and that's DK Metcalf, who they did an interview with him as well, and he just came off so well. He seems remarkably mature. he gets it. He talked about, I think Cliff asked him, what would you work on in the offseason? He was just talking about, just to be a better leader and to lead by example out there. He just, I love the guy. I love the guy, and I think he's just a really unique talent, and he's capable of doing a ton.
He's a sweetheart of a guy, but he's a beast on the field, and I just there's nobody like him. The other thing is, he's running that slant route there. If a safety comes over and tries to hit him while he's going full speed, you might think twice about that. That guy is huge.
He is a mountain.
So, yeah, I think DK is just very important to this team as well. But I have JSN at number 7. What's so interesting about him to me is that it's kind of hard to put your finger on, like, what is it that he does so well? And I think the reason is because he makes it look so easy. Mm-hmm. It's weird, like watching him run, and I remember him even at Ohio State, I'm like, it doesn't look like he's running that fast yet. He's pulling away from everybody.
It's like all the tight ends we talk about. They don't look fast, yet nobody's catching them.
Right. So, yeah, and they run good routes, and that's what he does. He runs great routes, and I think quarterbacks love that. I mean, look, they know where they're going to throw and where the spot is, and if you're not there, I always talk about, like, at this level, if they say 5-yard out, it's a 5-yard out. It's not 5.5. It's not 4.5. So, the quarterbacks are so good, and Geno falls into that category. So I think that's why he loves JSN. The other thing is the toughness factor with him having surgery. I think it was on his wrist last year. He ended up not missing a game in the beginning anyway. So, yeah, I mean, that guy, and you've got, DK, and you've got, Tyler Lockett. So it's just very, there's going to be, and I heard, Bump talking about how he likes the passing game to the tight ends that they have. And I'm like, man, there's not going to be enough to go around. And if you're trying to run the ball, I'm curious to see what the distribution is going to be. And so, if you're in an offense like this, looked like at University of Washington, they had, 3 guys that had high volume as far as yardage. So how are they going to use him? But I think the thing that stands out the most to me, because he's not overly, big size-wise, I think he's got great speed. It's not like super elite, but he runs such concise routes. Like, he is so particular about it, and like I said, quarterbacks love that.